Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is your host, Jess of Resilient and Rowdy, and I'm super excited to have a reoccurring guest, Miss Charlotte of Celestial Compass and Ms.Charlotte.Astrology on Instagram. Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for coming back on.
My pleasure.
Were you like shocked to see that you were like my number one downloaded episode?
Yeah, because I know I do things without thinking that they're ever gonna make any kind of difference. I just do them because I enjoy the work. So it's very flattering and comforting and kind of scary that people responded positively to it.
Right. That's how I feel. I just like putting myself out there, like doing all the things. And I love that energy that you bring because, yeah, I was like, this could go either way. I could resonate with a lot of my friends and followers that do love astrology, and it can turn off some people that just aren't into it. But you were the top downloaded episode. And it was from like all over, like from Australia, the UK, Europe, the US, a little bit of South America too. And I was like, wow. Like, so thank you, Spotify Wrapped, for showing me those cool statistics because I was like, no way. Anyways, so I'm really excited that you decided to come back on. And we're going to touch on so many cool topics. So, as an astrologer, what would you say like your number one question is that you get asked?
At at this moment in time, I'm getting a lot of questions from people. Am I going to be famous?
Oh my gosh.
And then I'd say after that, it would be like, when am I going to find the love of my life?
Okay. All right.
And
Those
probably
are
the
some
third
fair
one,
questions.
and then the third one is like about jobs, career. So it's
Okay.
those are the main ones. People really want to be famous right now, which is really concerning.
Yeah, because I feel like it's not what I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's because of the rise of TikTok and like how you can
Mm.
go viral. Like, I had a video go viral, and of all of my silly shenanigans that I put out there, it was that video. And I was like, are you kidding me? Um, so I also feel like sometimes astrology on TikTok can be kind of wrong, honestly. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to be negative, but like I'm really passionate about astrology. I love it. It's, something that I really like getting into. And it's just interesting seeing how different it looks on every single platform, and TikTok, the tarot readings too. It's it's a little annoying and people take it to heart. And so we get this misinformation. And so I think someone's putting out there like, oh, 2023, if you have these placements, you're going to be famous. And I'm just like, okay, so back it up. And they don't really ever, bring the facts, quote unquote. So, but I also feel like it's kind of TikTok's fault. Like you can go
Yeah.
from
And
just
if
a
we're
regular person to an influencer, and even
mm,
then, I don't know. I've been in that sector, and you're just a walking advertisement. Like it's cool, you get paid to be on social media. That's the cool part because it doesn't feel like a job, but at the end of the day, it's still a job. It's still work. Um so I don't know if it's just like the people just look at the glitz and glamour. They don't look at the nitty-gritty of it.
the age
Um
of Pisces, it's like
yeah,
age of
but
Pisces
after
energy. So
ooh.
people want to be. I had one person, same question, worded differently.
Mm,
I want, can I be an icon? I want to be an icon. And I don't think people really understand what the word icon and iconography means. Like it goes back into, I think, even well before the Middle Ages, where people were taking likenesses of religious holy figures and putting them on pieces of wood and paper and then
wow.
worshiping them. In order to be an icon, you must be sacrificed, you must suffer. And people don't realize that. They want to be famous, and wanting love is dangerous. Like wanting fame is so dangerous because you will sell your soul for it, for that, for that like taste of glory. Like it's
Mhm.
really out, and they don't understand how, like why or how to become that. They don't understand the sacrifice that it takes. Like Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, these are people that
Everything
really,
comes at a cost.
Britney
Yeah.
Spears,
Oh,
just sold.
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
It's
that rabbit
written.
hole. Um, and yeah, like I said, it's not what it's all cracked up to be. You're in the limelight, and when you're in the limelight like that, every single move is being tracked, is being judged. Everything comes at a cost. Like
You're not
I feel like
free.
again, it's very glamorized. Like, oh yeah, if I become famous, everyone will love me. Like, no, let's be realistic now.
Mhm.
Um, but okay, and then what do you feel like in comparison to the top questions that you do receive? What do you feel like people should be asking when they come to you about astrology, like in terms of helping them in their life? Like, what are the beneficial questions that you could be asking an astrologer?
Well, the best, I like a question like, what is my destiny? It's always about like,
Ooh.
what am I put on this earth for? Because sometimes
Mm.
it's not to be rich and famous. Sometimes it's something as mundane as learning how to develop a healthy routine and have a healthy, simple life, and how to, like, sometimes it's as boring as that. And that's a
Mhm.
nice destiny. And some people do have the greatness and the grandeur and the all that stuff. But, I think people should be, I know, not that I think, it doesn't matter what I think. What I know is that people should be more concerned about why they were put on this earth, and how to achieve their destiny in the highest possible way, because you can achieve your potential. Everyone's going to achieve their potential in either the highest, the lightest, highest possible way, or the most
Mhm.
low vibrational way. So I'm here with my services. I'm here to show you, look, this is the map, and this is how it can turn out for you. This is I tell people, see this north node, see this destiny. This is how it could play out if it's shit. This is how it could play out
Oh,
if you do the right things and you're a good person. So
yeah.
that's what I try to focus on. People should be asking me how to be better and how to get to where they need to go.
Wow. Yeah, that's really beautifully put, because I feel like a lot of folks can like underestimate the gifts and their own talents that they bring. And so using astrology and your talents, you're able to tell them like, hey, like this is what you bring to the table. This is your destiny. This is like your reason that you were put on here. Um,
And
and
sometimes
that's oh yeah, that's true.
sometimes I tell them things I don't want to hear, like people that really want to be liked, like especially people
Oh,
that want to be famous. I'm like, well, you're meant, sometimes I tell people you're doing the right thing when people hate you, but they hate being hated. And I'm like, you people have to hate you. That's part of it.
exactly. Thank you. You put it into words. And sometimes you're famous for something embarrassing or silly or stupid. Like you say the wrong thing on Twitter and like suddenly you're going viral because you're a ding dong. So I
Oh,
mean, yeah, like I said. So you'd be just surprised just in the world of the internet. But yeah, that's really beautiful. And I really like I hope that you find fulfillment in that. Like I know maybe you one day thought like, oh well, can I actually help people with this, like will people believe? And I feel like you do, and so I think that's really beautiful and really awesome that you can help people see their potential, the gifts that they bring, and like
mhm.
their life's work while they're on this like planet on this lifetime, and taking advantage of that because like why not? And I feel like once you realize like we all bring different things to the table, and when we really use that, we can really make some good changes to the planet, or to our community, to our lives, to our family, loved
Or even
ones.
just survive this shit storm that
Oh my
is
gosh, yeah.
the
Sometimes
planet.
we're just surviving, and that's okay. I feel that.
Sometimes surviving is the most hopeful thing that you can, is the most wonderful thing that you can accomplish, because we're about to enter a very critical phase in human history. For I mean, we've done this before. Humanity has done this before, where we've gone underground. There've been floods, there've been rains, there've been fires, there've been, we've got to learn how to live through that, and how we got to survive. We got to keep going. So
Yeah.
that's why the spiritual awakenings happen. They say, when I don't think, I don't know everything, but I feel in my bones that this is not the end of humanity. Like this is kind of like the
Rebirth.
things are ending, but a new phase is beginning, like a new, like it's the age of
Oh yeah.
Aquarius, you know.
Oh yeah. Tell me more about that.
Oh, we're leaving the age of Pisces. It's like a 2,000 year, or more than that, but it's like roughly like a 2,000 year period where, you said Pisces represents illusions, delusions, secret enemies, drugs, intoxication, confinement, imprisonment, hope, faith, spirituality, Jesus, sacrifice, the savior energy. It's a lot of different things. It's a mess. It's the last sign in the zodiac. So what we're seeing here with this transition into the age of Aquarius, because it moves backwards, we're going to see, and I don't want to like offend any Christians or anything, but we're going to see like almost like the death of religion.
Yeah.
Not the death of spirituality. Like God, I'm a believer in God. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't. But we're going to see how the veil will be lifted, and the truth. Aquarius is about truth, and Pisces is about the lies and delusion, and how people have been manipulated for thousands and thousands of years to believe in something that has basically, it's fucked humanity. So, but in layman's terms, but we're about to figure out how the churches have lied to us. Like, you can start to see that institutions are starting to crumble. It's institutions that really rely on the concept of their structures. Like, religion is just a structure. Spirituality is very feminine. It's very like fluid. Religion is the masculine structure in which they are like the gatekeepers. They're trying to be the gatekeepers to it. So that's all going to fall apart. And we will be set free, but it's not going to be easy because some people really rely on those structures. The very religious people, and I think religion is very important and very useful. I have this saying that, there's nothing wrong with being religious, but to be religious and stupid,
No, I agree, because I felt like I had a certain bias with religion. I grew up Catholic and have slowly been unbecoming of that, but I still respect it. And it's just interesting to see, I mean, whether it be Catholicism, Christianity, Muslim, Orthodox Christians, just whatever religious background, it's just interesting to see the types of believers and the types of people in it, because my frustration is some folks use religion as a really good way to implement structure into their lives. There's some really good, there's some really good things that come from religion, but then there's also the folks that use religion as a cloak of illusions, and basically covering up their horrible actions by saying, oh, well, I'm a Christian, and so that immediately means I'm a good person. And they've got demons in their closet. Not saying that you have to be perfect to be religious, but I'm talking about like abusers, like really sick things that they've done, and they're like, no, he couldn't, and they rely on that delusion and illusion because it gives them that cloak, like I said. So it's like, oh no, he's a good Christian guy, he would never lay his hands on his wife. Yeah. And so I'm like, no, I can kind of sense through your BS. And I'm in the South of the United States, so that's like a huge component, and that's why I'm not really like vibing with it here.
And I find that very, very religious people are also very, very like scared of astrology, and they refer to it as like a cult or
witchcraft.
Yeah, or satanic, whatever. And I'm like, this is the thing with religious people, and this is a general statement. It's very general. I know that, but a lot of religious people are not interested in history. And if they actually went back in time, they could see the connection between astrology and the religion that tells them that they shouldn't study it. Like, there's power there. Why does the Catholic Church have two giant billion-dollar telescopes staring up at the sky? Why can't we look at those telescopes? No one's ever like
and they don't want to acknowledge that disconnect because it's intentional. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So the unbecoming of a religious era and more into a spiritual era. So we're going into the age of Aquarius. That's exciting. It sounds like it's got some good things. It's just going to be difficult, right?
Yeah, like technology, because Aquarius governs technology. It's the higher mind. So if you think of Gemini as like the small mind, it's the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s. It is information. Aquarius is the higher mind. It governs humanity and the collective conscious. So what we're going to see is a lot of changes in technology, medicine, the sciences. Like it's going to be absolutely insane. Like just literally traveling to other planets to conquer them, to populate that. Like it's just insane. Like that's where we're going.
Elon Musk, Jesus, no. Okay,
the
all right,
aliens.
it's happening.
We are.
Okay. That's so exciting. My midheaven is in Aquarius, so that sounds exciting in a sense, but also like, yeah, like you said, it's going to be hard, but I feel like it could really move us forward like exponentially. So that's fun.
But it's only because we are about to go through like so many like humanitarian crises. We're going to go through environmental crises, and we have to figure out ways in order to survive those things. So like food production, like I watched this video the other day on Instagram about how they found a completely renewable, or created a completely renewable source of energy. And yeah, like that just popped up on the internet. I shared it the other day. I'm like, whoa, that would be great, because we need to save this planet. Like we need to save.
And I feel like too much greed has gotten a hold of people, because at the end of the day, yeah, we might not live forever, but the earth continues on. So like even the little things like littering, like that really, really upsets me. Water quality, just the carelessness that we've, succumbed to. Everything comes at a cost, like I said earlier. So it's just like being more mindful of your actions because, I think it's a little scary, like fresh water running out, stuff like that. So I hope that with the age of Aquarius, we can implement some new ways to just continue and sustain life on Earth without it getting out of hand or like super expensive. So I feel like there's a gap between, the very wealthy, and there's not really much of a middle class anymore. And
we're going to see a spiritual revolution too. So with like the destruction of, the churches, like formal structural religion, which also ties in with governments, because governments are very tied with religion. Those things are going to disintegrate, and especially as Saturn goes into Pisces next year, our governments are going to, it's the planet of the government is going into the sign of the disintegration. So we can't rely on our governments in the near future. We're going to have to come up with our own food supplies, water supplies. Food's going to be like, that's why I'm starting my own compost system, because I'm going to grow potatoes and carrots and tomato trees. I'm like, fuck, if there's no food in the grocery store, I'm having my own supply of vegetables, because it's going to get, I don't want to mince my words. Like it's going to be scary. It's getting very scary. It's already scary for a lot of people. Get prepared to take care of yourself, because you can't rely on this government. They've thrown us to the wolves already, like, so.
And I recently found out a couple of years back that the government will pay farmers to not grow food. That was, I can understand it in a sense, but also like for food shortages, for example, like why would you not want food to be grown?
Because you can make a lot of money with food shortages. You can make a lot of money. And then what I can see in our future, because hopefully this video exists forever, is that I can perceive a world where we become all over the world, we become a lot more agrarian. And there's going to be financial crisis. They're going to be like our governments are going to fall apart. People are going to turn away from religion, and they're going to find it's going to be a very spiritual revolution. That's the thing. The future billionaires, the future, entrepreneurs, a lot of them are going to be spiritual leaders, and that is amazing. And that is very, very scary. Very scary.
Gosh. Right? Yeah. Like, because some of them are gosh, who's that
I'm
one
calling
lady?
it out now. I'm calling it out now because the time of the Antichrist is apparently coming. According, like all the Muslims know what I'm talking about, and they're watching. They know what I'm talking about. Like the Antichrist is coming, and the Antichrist is going to come in the form of someone that says that they are going to save you. And there are many of those people right now, and they come in the form of entrepreneurs. Gates, Elon Musk. And I'm not saying they're not without their virtue, but that's the thing, is that they come across as incredibly virtuous. And those men they're human beings. No human being can be divine, but yet we treat them that way. That celebrity culture thing, like it's just.
Oh yeah, well, so it's like people talk about how harmful cancel culture is, but they also don't realize how harmful stan culture is. And if you aren't chronically online, stan basically means or like, I might be butchering this a little bit, but it's like a super fan. Throwback to Eminem, his song Stan. He had a very obsessed fan of his, writing him letters, he could do no wrong type of thing. And so what I usually see online, what I usually see online is Cardi B, Taylor Swift, and who else? Nicki Minaj. They have like this following of stans, and they will defend that celebrity, musician, entrepreneur, whoever, to the death. They can do no wrong. And like, you will bring up facts and they will just completely disregard it. So yeah, people, there's a double-edged side of the sword. Like there's cancel culture and then there's stan culture. So it's like, we have to remember that these people are human beings. We make mistakes. They're flawed. They're gonna be, I wouldn't say like evil. Maybe I could say evil, but they're gonna have maybe some intentions that aren't always good or clear or for the benefit of all. It's going to benefit mostly them. And we need to remember that.
No one becomes famous because, well, especially artists, like no one becomes famous to like save the world. They become famous because they want love and adoration. And that is a very dangerous thing.
And they want it blindly. Like, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, you better be kissing my feet. And that's just so disappointing because I love like makeup artists and, comedians and stuff like that. I love the talent that they have and what they bring and the community that they have. And then, they reach to a certain level of fame and they are just downright nasty, horrible attitudes, just bad energy. They don't even treat the people around them, like who are touching up their makeup, who are, preparing their room, or just, people in the service industry, they treat them like crap. I'm like, you might be super talented, beautiful, wealthy, whatever, but you can still treat a human being with decency and respect. That's just kind of how I am. And I hate that sense of entitlement. I'm like, okay, you walk around like your shit don't stink, but I know it do.
It's a very, and we could get into whole discussions about like secret society.
Yes, because So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, because you do talk a lot about pop culture. So I hope that my listeners can have a chance to check out your Instagram, which links your Substack subscription, because if you're all into that pop culture celebrity tea, Charlotte analyzes it to a certain degree that it's just like mind-blowing, and it's so juicy, it's so interesting, and it's so intricate. Like, I love the way that you write. So I'm really glad that you're putting your talents out there. So y'all check it out. But even your Instagram, you analyze charts, data, and it's just like you do the comparisons. You even do like you go through all of the planets and the signs in that. So like you put the celebrities on there and like different celebrities that have that placement, and you just get into it. So I hope that y'all that are listening have a chance to go check out Charlotte's Instagram and Substack, because it is good. It's some juicy, interesting stuff.
The point of it is to take these icons and turn them back into human beings. So I don't, and this, like, I'm basically like, I mean, you could what do I say? Yeah, like you could say that I'm so much more than that, but I'm a bit of a gossip columnist. I'm an astrologer, but I take stories from pop culture, relationships in pop culture, and I analyze them. And it's not to worship that person, because I feel like the whole idea of iconography and fame actually dehumanizes that person. You're turning them into an icon. You're turning them into a flat two-dimensional object that should be worshipped. I'm trying to understand who they are as human beings so we can demystify this celebrity bullshit.
Yes. Okay. And that's why I like it, because like you don't glamorize it. You just put it out there, you analyze it and describe it as it is. And I think that's exactly perfectly worded, is you humanize them, because at the end of the day, they're human beings. They eat, sleep, piss, fart, shit, all of that jazz. And whenever you put someone on a pedestal, because I used to do this, it'll make you feel less than. And of course, maybe they're talented, they're a musician, they're an artist, they're what have you. And, sure, that does bring value, but you also bring value to yourself. So I used to do that in my friendships, or even like people that I would see online. I would put them on a pedestal, and then I would wonder why I would feel like crap about myself. And I think that that's what you're doing, or you're undoing with your readings, is like, again, you bring humanity back into it. You're like, hey, these are normal people at the end of the day. They go to bed, they have a bedtime, they eat breakfast, they burp, they have indigestion, they have their bad days. And just putting it out there just so bluntly is really nice, because you don't have, I know everyone says that you have a bias, but it's like, you recognize the bias already in the media, and you're not trying to continue that. So that's what I appreciate of it. And I appreciate you putting that out there, because I'm like, oh, finally, like a breath of fresh air. It doesn't feel like Perez Hilton or whomever. So I love those.
Yeah,
I love those so much.
I hope the celebrities, because I do talk about celebrities, but I'm very aware, because especially the recent one I did, I have to really be careful of how I word things. So I'm always very, I don't like the word reverent, because I'm respectful of these people, and I can just see them as they are, with the astrological charts. And when I do write about them, I have to be very mindful, but sometimes I do see a lot of darkness. So even when I write about that, I have to be very conscious, because what if I just did Beyonce and Jay-Z, and it's going to be a 3-parter, and the last thing I would ever want is for Beyonce or Jay-Z to be hurt about what I write. Especially with how much they fucking scare me. So
oh my gosh, okay.
Because they're very powerful people. Celebrities are very powerful people. So I want to show their humanity and demystify them a little bit, without being disrespectful, because they are public figures, and we have the right to I don't think we have the right to abuse them, especially with the whole Meghan Markle situation, but I think
I was just about to ask.
We have the right. If they're going to be so influential and they're going to dictate our culture about how we feel about our bodies, our physical appearance, what we buy, then we are also entitled to, I mean, as respectfully as I can do it, take them apart.
No, absolutely. And that's where it's like, as a woman, I don't want to trash on another woman for being great or what have you. So I can immediately relate to that with the Kardashians. Like, and you just admit that you did there's no shame in it, but you have to admit it and be honest with your fan base, because there are women, and even men included, who are doing dangerous things to their bodies to look like you, because they admire you, they love you, they're trendsetters. And so sometimes that can come to a certain extent where it can be harmful to the rest of the population who can't afford to have those lavish surgeries or procedures done. And so there are people putting themselves at risk, at danger, to look like them. And they're, being dishonest about that. That's where, like, I kind of relate to that. So I'm glad that you're doing that. That's really nice. Again, the honesty, the truth is just delicious, refreshing. It's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, and you mentioned it. I was just about to ask. So you did the Beyonce and Jay-Z analyzation, and so you've done that with Meghan and Harry. And I just want you to briefly talk about that, because also the response that you've received, and even in general, the hate towards Meghan Markle, and even Megan the Stallion. Like, Meghan's just be having it rough. Just Oh my god.
Um,
Just say
I
you're
just
jealous and go.
I got a lot of unfollows, unsubscribes because of my content on Megan and just posting about her. And as someone that is mixed race, that is white passing and mixed race, as someone that lived in the UK and paid taxes to that family and has had people, highborn people, look at me like I'm some like mule, some
Wow.
yes, like that's the thing. The people that are very anti Meghan, who are very pro monarchy, what you don't understand is that you ain't shit either. Like they would look at you, they would look at you like you are bacteria in a petri dish. That's how they look at you, because these people in these highborn positions, who especially Kensington Palace, these are courtiers, right? A lot of these courtiers, you know where they come from? You know why they're in Kensington Palace? Because they had to escape during World War II when their governments when their monarchies had to be disbanded, when they had to leave. And a lot of them were pro-Nazi. A lot of them had to be rescued from that situation. A lot of like it's very complicated, but a lot of these courtiers, a lot of these four princes and princesses that live there, they looked at Meghan like, "Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, what's her bloodline?" Oh, like they're like that. They're not regular fucking people. Like they're obsessed with eugenics. They're obsessed with dog breeding, horse breeding. These are the people that Meghan had to be neighbors with. These are people that work with her. The people that she apparently bullied, they're courtiers. They're not regular people. And that's what no one understands. They're looking at it from the outside. They're reading the Daily Fail. They're reading the Sun, whatever. They're reading all these things. And I'm like, this has been planted there to get you to hate this person, this individual that is standing up against an ancient institution. That's not entering the heads of these fangirls of the monarchy. Wow. That's dangerous. And I say this as someone that lived there. I'm a citizen. You know, I'm half English. And Meghan was talking about in the documentary how throughout most of her life she didn't race was just not addressed that much, because she had enough privilege to achieve a lot of great things. You know, she hasn't had that many challenges. Then as soon as she went into the highest, most elite ranks in society, almost a secret society, she was just another N-word. So that's the situation. And another sick thing about this, like people like Piers Morgan, he's so sick. He keeps going on about, you know, he says things like, "Where's the racism? Where is it?" And it's just funny because the absolute genius of this entire plot against her, what feeds into it is that she is white passing enough. She's white enough. She's fair enough for these people to take such disgusting shots at her that they can just claim that it's not racism because she's not dark enough. And I'm like, genius. Like just evil genius shit. For real.
Yeah. It's just so disappointing to see that in real time still to this day. It's just like it's exhausting as a person of color, because like but even then if she was a white woman, like we saw how berated Princess Diana was. Just it almost feels like in that environment, like you're just judged and critiqued to such a far extent that for example, like someone like Kate Middleton, who's been like prepped for years in advance for that position, like unless like you were bred to be, or sorry, does that sound wrong? Because I feel like, you know, yeah, like, hey, I'm having a daughter and I'm going to train her and prepare her to be a royal. So we're going to, you know, cross our T's, dot our I's. If she's ever done wrong, if anyone has ever witnessed anything, no, you haven't. And if you speak up about it, you know, you're going to get sued or what have you. Because that's kind of how I feel. Like, and her image is just like untouchable compared to Meghan. If they were to do the exact same things, the judgment that Meghan receives Kate wouldn't even get an ounce of that. And I hate that, because at the end of the day, I mean, male or female, just again, like, why are you so obsessively just like involved in this person's life and then throwing shade on another? Like, I don't know. It's exhausting.
It's funny that how people perceive Diana, because a lot of adults now, like young adults, they don't have a living memory of her because they were born in like the late 90s or the 2000s. And like I was just old enough to remember. She was like, I was born 88, so I was like 9 years old when she passed away. So I have a living memory of her, and she was abused. Just the because we look back in retrospect and she's very glamorized now, but because she's been sacrificed, she's an icon. They literally killed the woman, cut off her head, and mounted her on the fucking fireplace. Like that's the nature of being an icon. I've been to Kensington Palace, I've been to Hampton Court, I've been to all these palaces because yes, I bought into it. So yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I went there because I love history, leave me alone. But they have face on tea towels, they have her face on spoons, they have her face on jewelry, they sell imitation like replicas of her jewelry still. They make a lot of money from Diana, yet she at the time of her death was exiled from the family, but in death she belongs to them, which is so sick because you fucking hate them.
Yeah. Do you think the same will probably happen with Meghan?
This is the part where I'm like, I don't want to manifest some shit, but I know that when Meghan, and I hope it's a very long time from now, I hope she's an old lady when it happens, but I think people are going to be very, very embarrassed in 10, 20 years time. They get, or even, and if it's even maybe not in 10, 20 years, like maybe when she dies, like it's going to be very embarrassing. I'm going to tell her, it's going to be very embarrassing for you. Like to live with that, because all these people that hated Diana in her life, that fed into the Daily Fae or Daily Mail and all this shit, they don't talk shit about Diana no more because she's dead now, and you're embarrassed because you realize how poorly she was treated in retrospect. And that's what's probably going to happen with Harry and Meghan. They, in the end, and I wish I could tell them this, in the end they will win. Time will be very kind to them. It will not be kind to that monarchy.
Okay, it will not. Good. I hate to see it, like as if they didn't learn that lesson with Diana, and it's just certain things are still repeating. That's just,
they did. They learned their lesson with Diana, hence why they got Kate. Kate is Diana 2.0. She's the Diana that they wish that she's the princess or the future queen consort they wish Diana could have been. So what Kate does, and she's a very clever girl. So I hate when people downplay how smart that and strategic and sly that woman is, because she's a genius. It's like, she channels the energy of Diana through, because she's tall like Diana was. She's very, statuesque. She channels Diana's energy through clothing. Because she's, like, if you watch her, she's a Capricorn. She's the opposite. She's got a lot of opposing placements to Diana. She's nothing psychologically like Diana. Very little of her is like Diana. But in terms of like how she channels, like the fashion, her Venus is an Aquarius. Diana's moon was an Aquarius. She really channels that energy of her late mother-in-law through dress. She's strategic. She's so smart.
I can see that.
Whereas I think Meghan has that messiness. Meghan is messy, and she's not very she social climbed her way into that household real freaking quick. Kate was very, very strategic. It was like she was waiting for each promotion. Like she was, she was just like, I can, I'm going to prep myself to become queen consort, and I'm going to slowly work my way through this system. And I'm going to, she was preparing. She was prepared. It was very strategic how it all came about. With Meghan, she just shot up there. And it was clumsy. Meghan is very clumsy. She's very good with the American social networking, but when it comes to British, the courtly systems of ancient Europe, she was much better as a mixed race concubine. They much would rather prefer to just be some court slut. Like that would have been ideal for them, but she ended up marrying into it.
Yeah.
Some actress actress.
Yeah, and that's just, good for Kate, good for her, but for someone who wasn't planning or expecting that, yeah, you know, it does show up as messy. So I applaud that woman for doing the best that she possibly can. But yeah, she does not deserve the type of hatred and just racism and just I hate it. I hate it for her. She doesn't deserve it. She's a good woman.
Yeah, like people are a narcissist all the time, and it's just like she's a fucking Leo. Like, and Leos are kind of, they're very self-involved. They're lovely, warm, loyal. They're beautiful people. I love Leos. Like I'm an Aries. Like we get it. We get called we're selfish, big egoed all the time. I get it. At the worst, Megan is at the absolute worst. She's self-involved and she's defensive. But in this case, I can't blame the girl. Like,
Yeah.
I'd be defensive too. I'd be very self-involved too. I'd be very, very worried about protecting my children, protecting my life and my image. Like, it's just, you know, I feel like the British media is that bully in the playground that picks up your hand and like hits you across the face. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting? That's what they're like. They give her all this attention and then they hate her because she gets attention.
Make it make sense.
Yeah, make it make sense. I'm really sick of this shit.
Do you think that things have gotten better since Queen Elizabeth passing, or is there even more of a pressure to perform, show up, what have you, expectations?
There's chaos because Queen Elizabeth, she was stable. Prince Charles is not stable. He's a bit of he's also very self-involved, and he's also just very emotional, and I've seen his chart too. The fact that Lady Hussey, who is the lady in waiting to Queen Elizabeth, said the things that she said to that CEO of that charity at that event just a few days before the Harry and Meghan Part 1 documentary came out is very telling. It's very telling. And Lady Hussey is not even the worst of those people. She's a respected royal aide. She was someone that she knows all the little ins and outs. She was she's very much part or was that institution. And the fact that she got revealed it's very telling. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There were worse, more evil people than her in that system that were around Meghan. That woman was also assigned with the duty of helping Meghan acclimate to palace life. And I'm like, ooh. It's scary. Like, it's really scary. Like, no one's like putting these dots, like no one's joining the dots.
No pressure. Oh, okay. Well,
but yeah, I defend her.
That was just like a oh, absolutely. And I'm glad that you do. It's just, again, the response, like, I mean, I appreciate you saying that the people have learned from Diana, but in a sense, just like I said, like the hatred that Meghan gets is just very frustrating.
If people learn from Diana, they would be kinder to her, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. Like, it's the same institution that's doing this to her son and his wife. Like, it's the same institution that killed her. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like, I think they killed her. So.
Oh my gosh, yes.
like, come on. Like, at the very least, they removed her security. Then they removed her son's security. Like, what the fuck happened after that, mate? Like,
so sketchy. I don't know. I think I read somewhere that like they think that Princess Diana is still alive somewhere. I wish.
No.
But no, she's not.
She's gone. It's oh, Diana.
Yeah, I know. All right, R.I.P. But yeah, I love how you like just get into it and analyze these celebrities, these public figures. It's very entertaining, and also just like, again, like how you use the astrology. Like, I learned more about astrology because you tie that into, and that's why I feel like you're not necessarily like a gossip columnist. So, and the integrity that you have. So it's like the astrology, like I feel like keeps you grounded in putting this information out there, and how you analyze people.
I try to remove, like, I have my own prejudices, but when I'm typing, like when I'm writing something about a celebrity that I dislike, I have to stay neutral. Like, I'll give you an example. I don't really care much for Kate Middleton. Like, I don't like her. I just don't. And But when I'm studying her chart, I'm not going to put out vitriol and hate against the woman. Like, what kind of fucked up shit is just because you don't like someone, it doesn't give you the right to be mean to them. It just doesn't.
Right.
It just doesn't.
Again, I'm on Twitter, so it's like I love when astrologers or people that are into astrology like bash on a specific sign, and someone in the comments will be like, just say that they're your ex and go. Like, you hate on Geminis, like, yes, your ex was a Gemini, so now you're just bashing the hell out of them. Like, weren't you in love with them for like 5 years? Okay, take that somewhere else. So I like calling it out. And yeah, I'm glad that you don't put that, because there's enough of that, you know?
No,
And if
I'm here.
anything, it's like whenever I throw judgment at a sign, it's like I realize that, so I'm an Aries sun as well. Like, oh my God. And not even, so if that wasn't bad enough, I have a Scorpio stellium. So like I understand the good and the bad with every sign. So it's like, if you're going to throw judgment, be considerate, because someone out there hates your sign too for, some of y'all's shortcomings or flaws. So if anything, I feel like the good and the bad described and talked about in a respectable situation, if anything, along with therapy, have taught me like, hey, I can work on that. Like, hey, I can improve on that. Like, so little things that people throw shade on about Aries or Scorpios, I'm just like, hey, I'll make a note of that. Or I
That's really
self-reflect.
brilliant. Aries and Scorpios don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and that's where I was like, why do I care? But I don't know. I feel like I used to be really toxic, and I'm not really proud of that. So um that part
There
of
are
me
moments
comes
when
out.
you need venom.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And
There are
so
moments.
I feel like
Pick your.
I can recognize that within myself, but use it strategically. Like, if you mess with me, if you mess with one of my friends, it comes out. I don't
Oh
just lash out at anyone personally, like, because I
Aries,
feel like I was so
Aries.
defensive that I would just like lash out on people, and that's not okay. So
Yeah,
if I call you out, it's because you deserve it. You're probably
yeah.
being slimy, and I don't
Aries
like that.
placements are the warrior. So like, and Scorpio and Aries are both ruled by Mars. So like Scorpio and Aries placements, when they do really well when they're fighting for something other than themselves. They get
Ooh,
even more vicious.
yeah,
They
like
get
with purpose.
more ruthless. I don't give
Yeah.
a shit because like I think where they're very sensitive signs, they can be very like they do care what people think. They'll still fight it. They'll still act like they don't. But when it comes to someone they love, they don't give a shit. Like I'll turn into Pol Pot. I'll turn into Hitler. I don't give a fuck. Like don't fuck with someone I love. Like that's the beauty of that energy, is that they're incredibly defensive, but when they're defending someone that deserves it, when they're defending the underdog, like it's very beautiful to see. Like it's really nice. So yeah, all the Aries placements that get called self-involved, blah blah blah, it's because they're the warrior. They have to defend themselves. The job of the warrior, with their sword and their shield, is to go into battle for other people, not for themselves.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. Is that why I got a dagger tattooed on me? Fuck.
really?
So cliche. I love that though. No, but yeah,
Mhm.
when I get into that mode, I call her Godzilla bitch. And like I said, if you fucked up to the point that I need to release the Kraken, you deserve it. But at this point in my life, I feel like I'm just gonna stay quiet. I don't know why. I feel like even though it's deserved, I feel like lately I've been gaslit to the point where it's like, oh, you shouldn't be speaking up about that. You shouldn't be calling it out. You shouldn't call a spade a spade. I'm just like, I need to get the fuck out of here. But anywho,
There's a saying, a saying that I have with Aries energy and even Scorpio energy, this Martian energy.
mm,
If you're scared, then you must.
ooh, I'm gonna write
Yeah.
that down. Okay,
If you're
thank you for that.
scared, then you must. Like that. I think that's an energy that I really thrive off. Like, I don't like it. My Libra moon. I don't want to be hated. I don't want people to abuse me on the internet. But when it came to someone like Meghan Markle, who was being consistently abused by everyone, by people that had took the red pill, people that have taken I should say the blue pill, or people that had drank all the Kool-Aid, like, you people I'm like, I can't stand that shit. Like I'm going to fight the masses to do the right thing. I think that people do things for popularity, and then there are people that do things because they're right. And I'd rather be the type of person that does the right thing, not the popular thing. So
I'm 100% on board with that. And that's why I've done so much work on myself, because I don't care about the validation, the popularity. I'm going to do what's right, because I feel like I've self-sabotaged myself too many times trying to do the popular thing, what's trending or whatever. And I'm done with that. So, but
sometimes
speaking of,
I like being canceled. Enjoy the cancellation. Just enjoy it.
and that's the funny part, is that no person can hate me by themselves. They have to have a group of people to hate me with them. And I'm just like, okay, all right, weak. You're weak. And you just, I don't know, some people just get defensive because they're wrong. And I'm like, I don't mind being wrong, but normally I'm not. So whatever. But speaking of that, so one of the topics that I definitely wanted to hit was America's Pluto return.
Oh shit.
Girl.
This ties into Megan as well. This ties into the whole Megan
okay
thing.
yeah okay
Yeah, because the Pluto return, it's every 240 250 years, and it's currently at the late 20 degrees, the late 20 something degrees in Pluto. In Pluto is in Capricorn in the late 20s right now, late 20 degrees. So that is the America's karma for all that's bloodshed, all that's slavery. Like, it's all happening now. That's why everything is chaotic. Everything is being paid for. And that ties into the UK's karma, because it was America was was a colony, the slave trade was because, thank you, Queen Elizabeth I. So yeah, it's really interesting how I looked at Queen Elizabeth I's chart. She was born when Pluto was in 1 degree in Aquarius. So her Pluto return, the second one, is going to be coming back. It's funny how like these charts, everything's just like, it all kind of like weaves into each other. We're going to see a huge we're going to see a lot of karma come back to the United Kingdom. Like there's a huge crisis an energy crisis going on right now. We've got the death of the second Queen Elizabeth. We've got the rise of a very unpopular new king. We've got an American divorced woman coming back into that family to fuck shit up for them. Like, it's just like, oh. And this does tie in with America's karma with the UK. So both of these countries they're kind of falling apart right now. They're paying for everything that they've done.
That's
and it's got to happen.
Reparations, motherfucker. Okay.
But the Pluto return is going to see, it's going to see a lot of, there's more devastation to come. I really do hope those reparations happen. I did hear about the pipeline that was built that exploded and destroyed a lot of native land recently. There's going to be huge just environmental catastrophe, just that everything that was planted during everything that was planted, the seeds that were planted in the creation of modern America, the seeds have sprouted, and and they've got to deal with the karma of everything that they've planted. Everything they've got to sow the crop.
Okay. Well, I mean,
it's going to be it's going to be crazy.
Jesus. I mean, yeah, rightfully so though. You like, no action doesn't have a consequence, especially when their malicious intent is involved. So I love to see it personally. Love me some karma.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling everyone. Like, guys, everybody has to learn how to take care of themselves in this, because governments are falling. We can't trust anyone anymore. Like,
How
Uh,
long is the Pluto return supposed to
it's
last? Like
going
how?
well. It's going to. It's we're in like the well, not we because I'm not American, but
Mm,
it's in the midst of it right now. It will
okay.
end in 2020. I think it's 2025. It won't
Okay.
officially end. There is no like, oh, and today everything's fine. Like it's gonna go into Pluto. You're gonna see like the
Mm, it's like
um
phases.
shadow period of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Okay.
yeah. So
Oh, bro.
it's
Okay.
it's
Here we
wild.
go. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I get tired of seeing, greed and so many other things just go unchecked. So,
America's falling. It's the countries. The Pluto return has been associated with the death of empires, the beginning and then the death of empires. So
yeah.
an empire's average time alive is 250 years.
I saw that. So that's why it makes sense. So whether or not you believe in astrology, facts right there from Charlotte. And it's even on Google. So Google it. Google.
Yeah. But yeah, you can just yeah, you can see you can see like the destruction of this great fantastic empire, like the whole concept of like even the whole that make America great again, that slogan for Trump, I thought was really interesting because um was it ever that great? What was your greatness built on? That's something that has to be
Oh,
explored.
girl, you're telling me so I'm an immigrant. I was born in Colombia and raised in the United States. And so I so I surrounded myself with some really cool people growing up, of all different backgrounds, races, what have you. But um, also, it being in the South was a little deviated to a certain, how would I say, like political party. And so I found myself like not really knowing what to believe in, what I should follow. And I feel like now that I'm in my late 20s, I'm trying to figure out who I am, what I believe in, what's my affiliation, if anything. Because I'm not in the country that my parents grew up in, and they have some sort of they do have some knowledge on American politics, and it's really interesting to hear how an immigrant's perspective who does admire and respect the United States, like you're kind of supposed to like blindly follow, and the general consensus is like, oh yeah, America's number one. And I'm also a military veteran, so there was
Mhm.
also a lot of that as an influence. But really, and a lot of these revelations didn't come until after I got out of my service and seeing how veterans are treated, etc. And I think you can also relate to that from a UK perspective. Um, is that, yeah, like you said, America hasn't necessarily always been great. Now there are definitely a lot of pros to it. I am proud of my military service. I am happy to be living in a country where we do have certain liberations,
Your
and
passport is
freedoms.
an MO. It's an
Yeah,
MO. Yeah,
yeah,
like they'll come get you. They will
exactly.
if you're an American and you go missing, they will like those Marines will find you. they
No,
will
100%.
they
Yeah,
will break a lot of shit to find you. So
but I feel like if anything, if you truly want to see yourself or this country thrive, you need to be honest about your shortcomings, your good and bad habits. And I feel like from what I've gathered, as a 28-year-old, still trying to figure out things in the world, is that I think Trump had good intentions with trying to make America great again. But then you look, like you said, you look at the nitty gritty of it, and what we look back on as the great years, like it really fucked us over in the years to come. I remember growing up in the South, people would be wearing these shirts like Reagan Bush from the 80s, and they weren't even alive, first of all, but it was a popular Southern brand. It had the front pocket, super soft t shirt. And so I started reading these like books about them and then the effects of Ronald Reagan and Reaganomics and everything like that. And I'm just like, but I also look at it like, hey, it had good intentions, but it ultimately failed and fucked us over like a lot of things. But I feel like a lot of folks when they are very when they're like when they're very strong in their political values, they don't want to admit that they were wrong or that they messed up.
It's also really difficult for the most privileged people in society that are incredibly grateful for what they have to
Mm,
acknowledge where they got it from, and to acknowledge that um that your privilege exists because it was built on the backs of slaves. On it was built on a lot of sacrifice of people that you will never know, on people
yeah.
that you don't even care to know. That's a really difficult thing. Like, even in my own family, when I talk about race, um and colonization with my British family, they'll be like, well, it wasn't my fault. And it's like, yeah, but you drink tea, you drink tea, you drink coffee, you eat sugar, you eat
Mm,
chocolate. Where do those things
mm,
come from?
yeah.
They come from places that you invaded and destroyed, and where you enslaved people to cut all that sugar cane and to farm all that coffee. And it so
But
happens that you're like the direct beneficiary of it, and you don't even want to acknowledge where you got it from. And it's so goddamn frustrating. And I say this as like a white, like a very privileged white passing mixed race woman. It is very, very difficult to talk to people that are the beneficiaries of privilege that refuse to see where it comes from. It's so it just makes me so angry.
no,
So
yeah. I agree because I think for me it's been personally very difficult to see the people that I grew up with. Like I'll go on Facebook and they are just on a rampage about certain political views, and while I can respect everyone's decision and right to affiliate with whatever they'd like, it's almost like you're saying they can't come to terms with that truth and they will deny it or not even acknowledge it. Um, and I'm also trying to come to terms with maybe they aren't inherently racist for believing these things. But it is just disappointing how they just won't acknowledge the elephant in the room.
mm.
That unfortunately, um, Black people, Hispanic people, immigrants, people of color in general do live very different lives than someone who has
It's
been
it's not
American
the
born
same
and bred.
America. It's not the
Yeah,
same America. Like, that's the thing. I think a lot of white people, they don't live in the same America that Hispanics and Blacks and Asians do. You just don't.
yeah.
And that's a really difficult thing, because you want to think that as a person with a lot of privilege, like, everybody got the great deal that I got. So
No, no.
no, you
And I
got a
feel
great
like I
deal.
had a friend I had a friend mention it. She was like, "Oh, well, how come all of a sudden, you know, people from these backgrounds or people of color are starting to say things? They're like, I feel like they just want to be a victim." And I had to tell them that, hey, growing up, I genuinely did not like feel like I'm like there's a saying in Spanish like not from here, not from there. And I'm sure that some people can kind of uh, resonate with that to a certain extent. Like you could be in the same room with the same people, be offered the same opportunities, but not even really not that's not really the case. Like I feel like equality can sometimes just be the illusion of equality and it's not
Mhm.
exactly that, and it's not what it seems, and that's just very disheartening for a lot of people to even swallow or come to terms with that. So it's like, hey, I know growing up, we said these things and we believed these things, but at least in my perspective, we're in our late 20s, we're almost in our 30s, we're learning who we are, what resonates with us, what doesn't. We're no longer caring about looking cool or being popular or having that validation, but living in our truth. And my truth is that I am a 28-year-old Hispanic woman. I was born in another country. I am an immigrant. I am a patriot. I am a veteran. I am all these things. And I can still feel like, there is an implicit bias against one being a woman, being an immigrant, being a veteran. Like, and I'm trying to tell that to a lot of my friends who are still in the military service and they're thinking about getting out. I'm like, in that instance and in that perspective, I'm telling them, hey, be proud of your service. Like, that's awesome. That's great. But also there's so many veterans getting out now that you have to compete with other veterans. So what makes you stand out? Because I can genuinely tell you right now, and it's really disappointing to say, but a lot of people don't care that you're a veteran. There's so many of you that are getting out, that are applying to jobs that, like I said, you're competing with the other veterans. So what do you have on this person that, they don't have on you? Like, do you have more training? Do you have certain certificates, etc., identifiers that make you more special than the other veteran? And that's really disheartening, like I said, to hear, to say, but you have to come to terms with that reality in order for you to show up better as a person, as a future employee, or whatever. And it, like I said, it's sad, but it's just the reality. And you can either come to terms with it, or you can be delusional and just say like, oh, well, they didn't hire me because whatever. I'm like, no, like, you're competing with the rest of the workforce and other veterans that are getting out.
While also having to deal with a lot of like the mental health issues and the trauma, like PTSD from having to go to war. Being a retired warrior is no walk in the park, I can imagine. Like,
no, not at all. And that's also a challenge in itself too. It's like, you're going from something very cool, very like something to be proud of, but also like you're no longer that. And you kind of have to move forward, move on from that identity.
Like, find your identity in something else. Like, you've got to find something else. So it's great that you did this, though. This is very different from.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've come to terms with too. It's like a lot of people will never understand me or ever keep up because there's just so many layers to me, and that's something to be proud of. I don't want to be like everyone else, but that's not necessarily my drive to be weird, to be different. It's more of like acceptance in who I am, because I used to hide all these layers. I used to think that I had to fit that cookie cutter, cliche, popular trends, whatever. And I'm just really tired of that.
Yeah, you're going through your SAT return, or are you starting it or ending it?
Well, I turned 29 in March, so I'm still kind of going through it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm 35 soon, so it's better on the other side. Your 30s are like, it's much nicer to be in your 30s because you're just like, I'm so tired. I'm tired for this shit. Like,
yes, I hear that, and I feel like that's beautiful, because I feel like as a woman, you're always told like, oh, you're 30, you're old, as if that's a bad thing. I'm like, no, you're wise enough to not be manipulated. You're like getting, you're being more comfortable in your own skin, and that's a beautiful thing. So I'm excited. I don't have kids. I'm not married. It's an exciting time. Instead, I live in a certain demographic where it's like you're shamed if you're not married, you don't have 5 kids and whatever. And I'm just like,
there's a prediction. Is it a prediction? Like I guess the economists have made this prediction that women between the ages of 25 to 40, so our cohort, half of us are going to remain unmarried and child-free. I hate the word childless, but child-free. And it's like some big concerning, sad thing that half of the women in our demographic aren't going to have children. But what I'm really worried about is the men that aren't, because men are kind of lost without romantic, sexual, familial connections. I feel like women, we easily get together and bond, and we can become the spinsters with all our cats in our garden. Like, we can handle it. But I do worry about men and this growing trend with this following of like the Andrew Tate types. We're gonna have a very lonely population of young men in the future. Like, it's concerning me very much. I think women are gonna be fine by themselves, honestly. like we're good, we can find other things, we can contribute to society in different ways. But I think men tend to be quite lost without that feminine energy. And yeah, and maybe this is just part of the Pluto return or the age of Aquarius, where we're evolving as a species, and that means that the feminine has to rise, and that means that we have to make the sacrifice in order to change society, that we have to that we have to put our energies into other things than being, making babies,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of ties into like, generationally as well. Like a lot of women at our age didn't have the choice. And I think that that's beautiful. So, and also like I'm on no timeline. I'm in no rush. I used to think that I had to be, but I'm not. I've let go of that. And,
whatever is meant for you. And I say this to a lot of people because I'm an astrologer, and I tell people nothing that is meant for you can ever be withheld from you.
Exactly.
Nothing. It's all for you. It's all there. And I think that the danger is that women are chasing things that aren't necessarily destined for them. And the wanting heart is so dangerous, because when you want something so desperately, it runs away from you. And as an astrologer, sometimes I meet really, and this is absolutely no hate towards these women. There's this, there are women out there that can't see a life beyond having, like, they've got to have children and they've got to have a husband. And how do you tell someone that they're chasing rainbows? Like, like you've got to find value in the life that you have now. You have to find joy in everything. You've got to find something else to live for, because chasing after something that might not necessarily be meant for you is a very sad way to live your life.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Like,
and I think
I'm open to children. I'm open to it, but I'm not going to make my life, like, the value of my life isn't solely on that thing. There has like contributing to society, connecting with other people, educating people, like making this place more spiritually aware. All these single women that don't have children and may never have children, may never get married, their job is to just lift up society, teach, like that. That's a really, if that's going to be like the ending to their life, is that they contributed to society, that's a happy fucking ending. Like,
Oh, 100%. And I completely resonate with that. I feel like my last serious relationship taught me, again, you force it and it's going to, run from you. It's not going to work out. And I've let go of that dream. It can still be a dream, but it didn't work out with that person, and that's okay. And so the last couple of years I've been single, and I've been very grateful for that time alone, because I went from back to back to back. So it's just nice to just have a breather. And if anything, I've really worked on myself the past couple of years, and grown as a person. And I've been able to show up better as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter, as a neighbor, or just things like that. And I'm very proud of all of the growth that I've put the work into. And it's beautiful because, I'm working on myself. I'm not chasing that because I no longer need that validation. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think those don't. They're pretty.
I felt like
they're not tangible.
No, 100%. And I feel like I had to ask myself, I was like, do I really want to be married, or do I just want the wedding and the party and stuff like that? So, really just questioning the things that I desire. Do I truly desire that? Yes, but to what extent? And little things like that. So yeah, I'm good. And if anything, I saw a meme that was like, at least you don't have any kids with your exes. And I was like, oof. Yes, that is a blessing.
That do, and it is a goddamn nightmare. Be glad for all the women that are watching that broke up with someone and didn't have kids. Count your blessings.
For real.
Or count the curses that never happened to you, because having children with someone that is a terrible partner or a terrible co-parent. I'm currently dealing with a friend right now, not dealing with, I'm friends with a childhood friend. She has a lot of trouble. She raises 3 kids by herself, and it's just
Yeah.
No. Mm-hmm.
Being a
People
single
want.
parent, I give y'all so much props because that is incredibly difficult. And like you said, especially when you have a difficult former partner, that just makes it so much complicated. So, I have no ill will towards any of my exes, any of my flings. They're happy without me, and I love that for them. And I'm just glad that there are no babies involved, period, because I probably wouldn't have been able to reach the level of growth or inner happiness
Mm-hmm.
that I've reached currently if I would still
Mm-hmm.
have that attachment. But there are
Mm-hmm.
some people that are, that can co-parent well, and I applaud that because that's difficult.
This this rise of the feminine, like in the last, say, year and a half, I think there's been this um hyper feminine energy that is incredibly rebellious and that's why men are upset right now. The North Node is in Taurus, and Taurus governs the earth and the feminine, and wealth as well, like all those feminine earthy things. And there's also Uranus there, which is progress and destabilization and rebellion. That's why women, if we're going to relate this back to astrology, like the
Right.
whole feminist movement, this crazy feminist movement, I relate back to this Taurus North Node Uranus energy that is disrupting the idea of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be the feminine. That North Node is going to be entering Aries in the next year.
Okay, when next year?
The men next year, mid next year, the men are starting, the rumbling is starting, like the men are getting angry. And here's the thing, we got to listen to them, unfortunately. We have because women have been so angry and with fucking quite rightly.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Within reason.
Yeah, we've had this, I think it's the fourth feminist wave that we're in the midst of. And men are feeling really inadequate. They feel really useless. Hence the rise of, this Andrew Tate fellow and a bunch of other hyper masculine. I don't think they're that fucking masculine. They harp on about their masculinity. I'm like, you just give me small dick energy. You're angry with a small dick. That's what I'm getting. But anyway, like
I call it man-child syndrome. Like they're a grown man, but they act like a child.
Yeah, there's this entitlement. Like the whole incel movement is very scary. Like that's on the rise. And I think the way that we can combat that is to actually like listen to men and listen to their grievances and listen to them in a way that we wish we would listen to. Because at the moment, women, and I don't blame us, la 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 la. I don't want to, like we're doing the thing that men have been guilty of for millennia. And for this North Node into Aries, we're going to have to be very reciprocal, and we're going to have to just raise our sons right. Like we need to raise up men and encourage men to be the warriors they want to be. Men need to be needed, and the way to combat this angry energy is to make them realize that, hey, we do need you in our lives. We need you to protect us. We need you to, like, that's why men are bigger and stronger, like we need you to save us. We need you to protect us because we're the feminine. We're the ones that carry your children. We don't have the big muscles. We don't have the swords and shields. We need you to be that for us. Instead of turning on us, fight for us. So that's the energy that we're coming up to in the next year, is that there will be a very angry masculine revolt against women. And we have to, oh man, I'm a bit worried about it actually.
Oh, absolutely. But I feel like that's because for decades we've just seen, instead of men protecting us, we've seen men protect other men. And everything.
Apologists for rapists.
Also I'm all about mental health. So, like you said, that's a really good point because men's mental health, men's emotional health matters. However, that also comes in ties with holding yourself accountable.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult for a lot of people, whether male, female, whomever. Until you can reach that level of acceptance and honesty, you cannot hold yourself accountable, and you cannot expect change if you can't even work on that within yourself. So we want men to be there. Y'all do serve a good purpose, but are you actually, or is it just like, are you just trying to benefit from what women can do for you? Because I think the union is very beautiful. And we can really come together and do great things.
I wanted to talk about Balenciaga. I think we've got one more thing to talk about, and that's
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
So
What are your feelings on
again,
it?
yes. Okay. So let's touch on, I mean, both Kanye, Balenciaga. I mean, this is your niche. Like, girl, like give it to us straight. Like, what the fuck is going on?
I think people need to remember that Kanye lives in a world that's very removed from the rest of our worlds. You know,
Okay, yes,
so
that's kind of, it's a little
he's
obvious.
he's in a bubble. So the things that he was saying, and let's not shy away from it, because I got into a lot of shit recently because I was I wasn't necessarily defending him, but I was explaining his behavior, and a lot of people commented on my Instagram that I was either perpetuating, encouraging, or allowing anti-Semitism or something like that, which I'm just like, oh my God.
So I think and this is where I also agree with in a mental health aspect. This is a way to understand someone's behavior. It is not an excuse. Like I said, I have, so many different backgrounds, but especially I relate and talk about mostly the veterans and military mental health, and mental health in general. So it's like, hey, yes, you could have PTSD, but that doesn't excuse you from hitting people, doing this, that, and the third. It's just a way to understand that this is your mental illness, lashing out, like you're lashing out because of the lack of help, etc. So this is like 1 + 1 = 2. It doesn't mean that abusing harmful behavior is okay. It's just a way to understand it. So I think that's what you were trying to get at. Like, hey, this is Kanye. This is him. This is what he's struggling with. And this is how this is how to understand his behavior. But it doesn't make the things that he's saying okay.
No.
Yeah.
No, what he said was just, it was wrong. But when I listened to that, what I got from it was that he's in this very small bubble with very powerful, corrupt people. Now, in the entertainment industry, and if you're someone that has studied film and music, like I did it as a degree, the technology and the industry, the entertainment industry, developed quite rapidly. Okay, so the film industry, the music industry had an influx of refugees post World War II who were escaping a genocide, and they went into these industries and they rose to the very top. So as a result, 70 years later, a lot of people that are at the top of the entertainment industry are Jewish. Now, if you're stuck in a little bubble as a Black man who's experienced a lot of abuse or prejudice in his life and has gone into this very privileged bubble where you're an entertainer now, and and a lot of the people at the top are Jewish, you're going to be seeing the world through a very different lens. He's living in a goldfish bowl, and what he's looking out of is it's a very different view of the world from what we're used to. So the people that he was calling out, when he said he was going DEFCON on the Jews and he was saying all these things, he wasn't talking about average normal people that go to synagogue and that contribute to their communities, and people that have suffered from the Holocaust. He's not talking about those people. He's talking about the people that are in control in the industry. Those are the people he's talking about. I just wish he didn't say that.
Yeah.
Because I know, I was horrified at it, but I was trying to look at it from his perspective, what he's talking about. But he's talking about these people that he's working with, these very elite people, very corrupt people.
And I wish that he would have just left it at that. Why do you got to bring up Jewish? Why you got to say like, just, that goes with anyone. You're upset at a group of people. You don't need to describe them. It's just people.
Yeah, and he had to go on a podcast and he had to explain himself, and I don't know if he effectively did. But I just I really like Kanye. I don't like what he says. I thought it was very poorly worded. I thought it was irresponsible. I thought it was disgusting. But that said, I'm not out here. I'm as and I am half white. I'm a white woman. I'm not here to cancel a black man. I'm just not. I'm not going to do that. So I'd rather just understand him without having to agree or forgive what he said. Like it was just awful. But I wanted to I feel like I had to like not explain but understand what he was getting at, because he is in this goldfish bowl, and he called out a lot of institutions, one of them being Balenciaga, and then shortly after they come out as
the whole scandal was just like, what the fuck?
He called it. I have a feeling that he said that shit. Sometimes I wonder if he said that anti-Semitic crap so that he could get cancelled, so that he could lose his contracts, because in the end he was he didn't cancel the contracts. He wasn't what was the word? He didn't what do you call it when someone cancels a contract or acts out and goes against their contract? What's that called? He didn't do that. They canceled it. They were the ones that had to pay him in the end, I believe. So
I can't remember. I don't know. I can't think of the word, but I know what you're meaning, because when you're under contract, you have specific guidelines and rules that you have to abide by. So I guess that's one strategic way to go about it.
I'm wondering if that he meant to do that, because he said, "I'm free." There's footage of him saying, "I'm free, I'm free," and I'm like, he meant to do that. Then he knew that if he said those anti-Semitic things, that he would be able to cancel, his contracts would be cancelled and he'd be let go. There was something dark in those contracts. There was something holding him there. He's been talking about sacrifices. He's been talking about, not without using the actual word, he's been talking about Illuminati stuff basically lately. And I'm like, oh, if something happens to him, we know who's done it. So
right. But that's a whole rabbit hole. But the whole Balenciaga stuff was just right in our face. And if anything, I'm glad that he, among other people, have like called it out, because I feel like sometimes the media understands the attention span that we have. And I'm glad that got the acknowledgement that it needed to, because why the fuck would you put innocent children, with bondage bears, or even like just bondage accessories, and just, it was right in our face.
They were confessing. It's a confession. Like a lot of art, a lot of entertainment, mainstream entertainment, they confess their shit through subliminal messaging, through imagery, through color, through symbols, through, and basically with the Balenciaga ad, which was a Christmas campaign, they were they confessed to everything without realizing that people are decoders now. People are, the spiritual awakening, the whole the pandemic made people much more aware of things, and made them able to made it able for them to read through the lines a bit more easily.
Yeah.
They didn't count on that. And now they've wiped all their shit clean. They've wiped everything. They've gone away for a while. They should not be allowed to come back.
Yeah, absolutely not. And yeah, you're right. I think the pandemic taught us to slow down and kind of be a little more present, and not to let things slide, because we've done that for long enough, and look where that got us. But yeah, the Balenciaga drama or scandal, rightfully so, because again, children are innocent. Let's keep them innocent. The sexualizing of children is just fucked up, period. And I felt like they thought, because of their status, because their luxury, whatever, that they could get away with it. But I'm really glad for the people that spoke up about that, because we're just not going to tolerate that shit anymore.
The celebrities aren't saying anything, because that's what makes me think it's a bit of a cult. Celebrity is a cult. Hollywood is a cult.
And that's where I'm like, how, tying into the beginning of the episode, how you were talking about how people want to be famous and they want to be an icon. I was like, is reaching a level of celebrity status, famous status, worth completely disregarding morals and ethics? Because I know some people who are so thirsty to be famous, to be whatever. And and they have a following, they have a platform, and they won't ever, ever talk about very important detrimental topics like racism, the Balenciaga stuff, because like, oh, their image. And I'm just like, you value these things that are fleeting, money, fame, fortune, whatever, that's all fleeting. Because you don't want to compromise or upset other people who are okay with abusers, with rapists, with people grooming children. And that's where I'm like, with my journey in podcasting, in the beginning, we were like, oh, we want to be influencers, we want to be famous. I was like, I don't know if I can particularly be on board with that, because I know what that entails. You have to be silent about certain things. And as a mental health advocate, as a survivor of certain things, I refuse to be silent. I will not be silent, because it's that silence that keeps certain harmful behaviors and people successful, alive, relevant, etc. And I will not compromise my morals, values, and ethics for that. So if
Your soul is all you have, really.
Yeah, and the fact that Kim Kardashian has a contract with Balenciaga, and she has a daughter. She has a daughter, and nieces and nephews, and she refuses to say anything. That was where I was like, y'all ain't shit.
Kanye was saying that he's worried about his children, his daughters, especially being sexualized very early in life. And I think that is a very valid concern that he has.
Yeah, 100%.
As a father, and having worked in this industry for so long, and he's been in the bowels of hell. You can tell that he's been there. And I definitely have a lot of sympathy for him, and I can see why he's very concerned and worried that his children are in full custody of Kim, because Kris Jenner, I don't want to talk shit about Kris Jenner because, she scares shit out of me, but the woman is dark, and she clearly sold her daughters, is a pimp. She's clearly sold her daughters into something. Like, who sells a tape of their child being like having sex? Like, that's the energy of that family. They'll do anything for fame.
Yeah.
Anything. And he's worried about his daughters going through the same thing. And like, it's very sacrificial almost.
Have you read their charts in that aspect, in that manner? Like,
Kris Jenner, I've read her chart. I'll do something on her, but I don't want her to give a fuck about me. I just don't want any, like, a lot. It's funny because I deal with celebrities, and I from what other people have told me, I think some celebrities have clocked me, but I'm not big enough of a platform for them to truly give a shit. And I kind of like it like that, even though I'd like to grow. I kind of like it like that, but
yeah, because it can get scary real quick.
Because I know Kris Jenner's soul. Like, I've seen Kris Jenner's chart, and her North Node, which is the destiny placement, is right next to Lilith. North Node conjunct Lilith is a scary placement. It's very, very destructive. It's because Lilith is the goddess of like abortion and dark feminine energy, and like, fair enough, we like Lilith because she got fucked up by Adam. Like, fuck that guy. In the early Genesis stories, Lilith was Adam's first wife. To all the Christians that don't know, okay, there's a Genesis to the Genesis, and it involved Lilith, and she was just treated very poorly. She was abused, she was raped, she was and then she left the Garden of Eden. She's like, I'm sick of Adam's bullshit. I'm sick of being treated like crap. She was in a domestic violence situation, basically, and she went off out of the Garden of Eden. She's like, I'm going to become a demon and goddess of abortion and fuck everyone. And it's that energy. And so when your North Node is conjunct Lilith, there is this very destroy and be destroyed energy. And that's what Kris Jenner has. Like, she sold her babies, her daughters. Like, she's the pimp, she's
Kanye, unfortunately, I feel like came to terms with, the partner that he was with. And I'm sure there was other issues involved, but I don't think he wants that cycle to repeat. Like, that was out of his control because that was already her past. But I think he just doesn't want that to repeat with their daughter, rightfully so.
he's already predicted, like, if you know the song Flashing Lights? Do you like Okay, so if you even listen to it, watch the video clip, there's a woman that's very similar looking to Kim, and she's wearing this lingerie, and the whole video is him like in the back of a car, and at the very end of it, she murders him with a shovel, like she in the back seat of a car. It's very mafia, it's very sexy, it's very like, and I'm like, is this a metaphor for how he thinks his life is going to end up, with this beautiful, curvaceous woman that loves money, that loves fame, that loves power, destroying him secretly in the backseat of a car out in the desert? Like, what the fuck's going on? So it's really interesting. And I wonder, the song Gold Digger, like, songs are spells. Song is very powerful. Words become things, they become realities, and that's certainly the case for Kanye. I look at Britney, I'm a slave for you, overprotected, lucky. All these songs that she's sung throughout her life is exactly the thing that she's become. She's lived that life. And people still sing these songs. She's manifested the thing that she was singing. It's insane. Like, the spirit, like, Hollywood's not just about money. It's not just a business. It's a church. It's an institution. It's a cult. Like, and celebrity it's a very dangerous thing. It's very enticing though.
Right. I mean, but everything has pros and cons. Obviously, it's just at that level, it seems very detrimental. Have you read Britney's chart?
Yeah.
You have? Okay.
She's not free. She's not. I think they're doing. I think they might be using deep fake technology to like make all these videos. It's becoming very odd. I recently saw. Do you watch Sloan? He's amazing. Go watch Sloan. And he talked about how something about Michael Jackson's paperwork and Britney's paperwork were lumped together. Why? Like, it's really weird. Michael Jackson apparently was murdered, or there was a wrongful death lawsuit or something. Like,
oh right, okay,
yeah, he had the rights to Sony. He owned basically, I think, half of Sony or something, and then he died. Like, just weird things. Like, yeah, and he must have been on some kind of conservatorship as well. Like, some really weird shit was going on with Michael Jackson. The same weird shit that was going on with Whitney. The same weird shit that's going on with Britney. These very powerful. You cannot be truly powerful in that industry. She's very powerful, but she's a slave in that. She's powerful in the same way Michael Jackson was powerful, but they have no control. You can be powerful but have no control, and that's the situation.
Oh, that's really, really hard and sad.
Yeah. If anything happens to Britney, if anything happens to Kanye, we know who did it, and it wasn't suicide.
Oh my God. It's just sad to like kind of like, whether or not you want to go down the rabbit hole, there's just certain things that kind of don't sit right with you. And for me, it was the wedding. She didn't even know about the wedding. She didn't plan it. And it just,
there's no nice photographs of her. There's no like high quality professional photographs of her wedding. It looked like a mess. It was a mess. Sam Asghari, I've seen his chart. Something's up with that guy.
What are his placements? Like, what did you see?
From what I remember, he's a Pisces with heavy Scorpio. I remember thinking as I looked at the chart, he's very controlling. Like, he's a bit of a slave master kind of energy. He seems really sweet
and charming because he's good looking, but that means nothing.
Yeah, in the past, he's dated other famous women. And he's a boyfriend for hire, and he was on the payroll. He was her chef. I really, really think he was planted there as like an insurance policy in case she wanted to leave the conservatorship, and then he could take over. That's what I think, and I might be wrong, but something's going on because that man has a lot of control over her.
Yeah, and I think it's also a little suspicious that, like, supposedly she was out and about for her birthday. She went to some popular restaurant and there's no paparazzi pictures. And that is a prime hotspot for paparazzi. And so I'm like, okay, did paparazzi kind of agree like, hey, we're going to leave Britney alone? Or was she actually just never there? And she's always at her old house. the videos just look old. They don't look, new.
Mm.
Her general upkeep, and I might look at it in a lens of like mental health, like, oh, okay, she's probably maybe still on medication or coming off of medication. That's always really difficult. But her nails, her hair, the extensions, just a lot of things aren't adding up, and it's just really
Yeah.
sad because we
And
want to see her thriving. We want to see
if
her.
if she's been on lithium, then she might actually have brain damage.
Oh,
So there's that there too. So yeah, there's a lot going.
all right. So, Charlotte, it's been amazing just talking about so many things with you. And I can tell that, you love what you do. And it's really interesting to tie in all these topics to astrology. So just thank you for the astro talk.
No.
And so if people want to get in touch with you, see your content, and see more of what we've been talking about for the past hour and a half, you are on Instagram, and you also offer some other services. You're probably like on other platforms. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So my main one is my Instagram at Ms.Charlotte.Astrology, and then I have a Substack where I put all my articles. It's basically just a collection of all my writings. And there's a free subscription and there's a paid subscription. With the paid one, you can just access everything. So yeah, if you'd like to support me, that would probably be the best way to do it. And yeah, I do have a podcast, although I am yet to upload. I'm a bit nervous. That's why I wanted to do this, because it would get me warmed up for it. So
Absolutely.
I'll be publishing this on my one as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you got an up and coming podcast. I'm super glad that you decided to come back on. Again, yeah, your first episode was a hit, so I'm super excited to see what kind of feedback we get from this episode. And it's always just fun chatting about astrology with you. So yeah, if y'all want to get in touch with Miss Charlotte, she is available. She does so many things, and she constantly puts out some new content that is just so juicy, so interesting. So check her out, and thank you again for coming back on.
Thank you so much.
Of course.